Okay, in this video we're demonstrating some of the methods you can use to change from the full server graphical shell to the minimal server interface. And in this video we're going to start with the full-blown server graphical shell, which is what you're typically used to in a full GUI environment. And we're going to go from there to the minimal server interface, which is not core. Minimal server interface does give you both server manager and a command prompt. So we're going to go to the minimal server interface, show you what that looks like, and then we're going to add the server graphical shell back to get back into our original configuration. So to start with, we're going to log into our Server2012R2 that we have running on the VMware workstation. And you can remove the server graphical shell either from Server Manager or from PowerShell. So I think we'll actually show you both options here so that that's clear as well, because I think this is going to be on quite a few of the different tests. So if we go to our local server here, we'll look at where you would uninstall it to get to minimal server interface from Server Manager, and then we'll go ahead and look at how to do it with PowerShell as well. So if we do remove roles and features, we're going to take something away, and it's a feature, not a role. If we go down to user interfaces, and the server graphical shell is what we need to remove in order to get to minimal server interface. So this is pretty straightforward. You uncheck it, you hit next, and it uninstalls it and reboots, and then when you reboot, all you have is Server Manager and a command prompt. So that's how you would do it with Server Manager. And now we're going to look at how you would do it with PowerShell. From PowerShell, if you start PowerShell as an administrator, there's a switch you can use that'll tell you if any other roles are impacted by uninstalling this. So we'll start with uninstall Windows Server GUI, and then we can do what if here, and it'll tell us we have a typo. Looks like I didn't put the S in there. So it'll tell you if you have any other roles that are going to be impacted, which is might be worth doing if you have a production server that has a lot of different roles and stuff installed on it. But for our purposes here, we're going to remove the what if and just tell it to go ahead and run. So this is essentially doing the same thing that removing the checkbox in Server Manager would have done. So we showed you how to do it in Server Manager. We're showing you how to do it here in PowerShell. And I'm going to go ahead and let the video run to show the reboot. A lot of times if you've never done it, it helps to see what actually shows on the screen during the reboots as well. Now it's telling us that we have to restart for it to take effect. Now remember, this is our full-blown server interface with the GUI and everything, and when we reboot we're going to be looking at minimal server interface. So we'll do restart computer, let it reboot, and then you see working on features, and it'll go through a couple other steps when it's shutting down, and it'll do some of this when it's starting up as well. Now it's rebooting here. Like we said earlier, when it boots back up, it also goes through some feature configuration screens here, which is why I wanted to let the video run so you could see what this looks like. Okay, now we're back at a login screen, and when we log in, if you're set to the minimal server interface, command window should start automatically, and then in a few seconds the server manager console GUI should start automatically as well, and that's pretty much all you should have. So there's the command window started automatically, and server manager should also start here. And there it is. Now from here you can either go to core, or you could add the server GUI back, and you can go back to the full-blown Server Graphical Shell. But this is what's called minimal server interface. This is really all you have. If you minimize this, you have nothing else. Which brings up another question. What if you accidentally close both of those and you're sitting here looking at a black screen? Now what do? Well, the way you work out of this is you go to Task Manager, and you can go over here and run a new task, and you can start PowerShell, or you can, then from PowerShell you could add the GUI back, do whatever you wanted. You could also run a new task and open a command window. You could run a new task and open Server Manager. That would restart the Server Manager console. And then the other, tool that you use in core a lot is sconfig, which you can also start from here as well. So if you do accidentally shut all this on minimal server interface, the way you get back to it is just by throwing a Control-Delete at it, going to Task Manager, and then restarting whichever tools you want. Now, for this video, we're going to go back to the full-blown interface, and since we removed it with PowerShell, we're going to go ahead and add it back with the GUI. So to add it back from the GUI, we just go down to Features, and it was down under User Interfaces, and with Server Graphical Shell. And we do install. Okay, our install is complete. It's telling us we must restart again. So we'll close all this stuff and we'll do a restart. Now I'm going to pause the video here, but it'll go through these same updating screens both when it's turning off and again when it's booting back up. And when it comes back up, we should have the normal Server Graphical Shell, which is the full-blown administrative console with all the features that we're typically used to. And now you can see it's booted back up, and it should have the normal interface that we're used to because we added it back. So we already see the bar on the bottom of our desktop, and things look like they were before we started. So in this short video, we showed how to go from your, what I call the full-blown Server Graphical Shell, how to uninstall that and go to the minimal server interface. We showed you how to start your tools in the minimal server interface if you accidentally close them all. And then we showed you how to add the Server Graphical Shell back from the minimal server interface and get back to where we started. Now in our next video clip, we're going to go from the Server Graphical Shell here to straight core and take a look at that. And we also showed you a quick look at sconfig, which is another tool that you use to configure core installs. And actually sconfig is also available if you have the graphical user interface installed. You can still use sconfig. But if you're running core, you have to use it. So anyway, that's the end of this video. Look for our next video where we're going to go from the Server Graphical Shell GUI to core. Thanks. Bye.